So I have no idea how to code, but somehow I ended up designing an entire software system, not by programming it myself, but by figuring out the workflow, building the structure, documenting everything, and then sending it to a developer. And now I've officially gotten a quote to build it. So welcome to my channel, Under the Fig Tree FM, Faith in Motion. This is a channel where I break down the lessons, strategies, and real world experiences that I'm learning through the ventures I'm building. So I'm designing this software system for a traffic company, and I've been working here for a couple years now. And since I've been working here, I discovered that we really have no system in place when it comes to our operations. So the furthest we go for a system is Excel and Word doc, which is very ancient. If you're in 2026 and you have a business that's making quite a bit of money, I think everyone should have a software system in place for their operations. But anyways, after talking to people in the office and doing my own work, I discovered that there's inconsistencies with documentation, there's confusion, everything's manual input. And if we were to get audited in our operations, it's kind of difficult to go back in the archives and find the thing that you're looking for. And it's just, annoying day by day doing your work. Also, there's some people in the company and they have quite a bit of responsibilities and they're doing this management work and it's taking so much of their day. And if there was a software in place that kind of made things more automation, it would take away a lot from their plate and they could focus on doing the innovative stuff which they're getting paid to do. So once I discovered this, I thought, man, this is something that we really got to put some money towards. And I'm happy to help with it and design it, having no coding experience at all. So after discovering the issue, I knew for sure the solution would be to have a software system, but it was a pretty daunting task and very intimidating, not having any training in computer science or anything like that. Never took a computer class in my life. But, since I'm born in this generation, I knew software systems before myself. So I decided to design it myself. And what I did was you have to talk to the people that are going to use it. So I was in the office talking to the people that are going to use it. What would they want to see? What needs to happen for sure for this phase to work out? Because the scope got really big when I was designing this. And I had to say, this is for scope 1 only. And later in the future, when we want to build more, that would be scope 2. So you have to break down what's actually going to happen, what needs to happen in the system for it to be successful. So I did that. Talking to the people in the office, taking notes. And the biggest tool for this situation for me was ChatGPT. So how I did it was the best thing was to talk about what you're going to build page by page. And once you got that page down pat of what needs to be in that page, the best tool ever was to generate the image. And it's pretty good at generating an image of what it's going to look like, the Figma. So I would just say generate the image and then I'll critique it from there. And there are issues when it comes to generating images on ChatGPT. You tell it to change something. It doesn't always listen. Even if you use that highlight tool, it doesn't like to listen to me sometimes. So what I did for that fix was sometimes, and it works for the computer mostly, you exit out of it, then you re-upload it. Talk about sometimes it forgets where it's at. You have to bring back all the information and then hopefully it'll get it right. If that doesn't work, then what I found was to bring it into PowerPoint. I don't know anything about like Adobe or anything like that of critiquing an image, but PowerPoint from going to college, making some good slides, I would just upload the image and then I would use the shapes tool, make the shape the same color as the background, put it over the words just to get rid of the words, and then, put it back in ChatGPT and say, can you fix it now to make it like an official, picture for me? And that was just my workflow process, and it worked out pretty well. Also, when it comes to the image generation, it's a great thing because that's when the office people could really comprehend what's going on rather than sending them documents and saying, can you approve this? No one wants to do that. So generate the image, say, is this how you like it? And they could critique it. They could really comprehend what's going on. So they're really happy to help you out. And that's really the work process of what I found to help with for me. So now that we got the design done, the documentation is all set up, and we got the approval from the office people. It is now time to find a developer to actually make this system come true. So I turned to the app Fiverr. It's one of my favorite apps. I could freelance just about anything like art, taxes, or in this case, software. And since I have so many projects, I actually worked with someone before to develop an app for me, and I could talk about that probably in future videos. But since I worked with him before, he was the first person I sent this project to, and I was very shocked on the price that he gave me and very pleased with it. So pleased that I was kind of skeptical and wondering if he actually understands what is expected of him. And so I didn't ask anybody else, which might be an issue. I think you probably should in different situations, especially if you don't know anybody when it comes to getting a quote, is get multiple quotes. But for this one, very pleased with the price. I worked with him before. I kind of trust him since he did well on the other project. And we were skeptical, so what we needed to do was ask questions, making sure he understood exactly what is expected of him, even though it was very extensive on the documentation I gave him. But just to make sure and be clear, and you got to do it strategically and making sure that you don't offend him or kind of sound like you don't trust him, or he might actually raise his value or raise his price. And I meant to say like price perceives value. That's why when a bid is so low, you're kind of like, what's wrong with it? So that's kind of how price works. But in this case, we're very happy with it, and I trust him. So I asked the questions. He answered all my questions very well, and it sounds like he definitely understands what's going on. And one thing I wanted to talk about is when it comes to developing a system or an app or anything like that, you got to make sure that you tell them to structure it like an industry structure of, or just ask, that's one of the questions I asked, is the coding going to be like industry standard, as in is not just going to be the code that just works for now and you can't build on top of it. So I made it clear that this is not going to be the only phase of this whole system. We want to grow from this. So it's got to be able to grow and scale, and we could build on top of it. And also it protects my behind, as in if we don't want to work with this guy anymore, it's got to be able to be passed on to someone else, and that investment is still holding strong. On top of that, you also got to be able to make sure you have full rights to your thing that you're building when it comes to hiring someone out. Make sure that you have it written out or discussed, very well documented in the chat, that you have full access, you have full control, and you have full rights to this product so you don't get scammed. So that's another big thing. So where I'm at right now is that we're just about to pay for this developer. So that's as far as I got right now. So I'll have to keep you guys updated on how this process goes. And hopefully it goes smoothly. I trust this person. I ask questions. I have the documentation. I have the full rights. And it sounds like it's going to be a very good project. So I'm really excited about that. So the key takeaway here is you do not need to know how to code in order to create something great. Not that this is something great yet. I'm still in the infant stages of this, and I'm definitely going to keep you guys posted on how things go with this, succeed or fail. But I believe it's going to be something great. But what I did was I discovered the issue, I had a solution, and then I talked to the people that are going to utilize that solution so that it's ready when it hits the market. And that was my framework moving with this. But that's it for this episode of Under the Fig Tree FM, Faith in Motion. You guys could like, subscribe. Also wouldn't mind a comment or two based on what I'm doing. I might be walking into something very dangerous here, or I might have overlooked something. But bye for now, and by the grace of God, do your job. Thank you.